September is almost here. Across America's Corn Belt, thousands of farmers are getting ready for one of the biggest agricultural operations on Earth. But before a single cornfield is harvested, something just as important has to happen. The machines must be ready. Combines have to run perfectly. Grain carts have to move without stopping. Trucks have to haul grain continuously. Storage systems have to be prepared. Because when harvest finally begins, there is no room for a major breakdown. And one small problem during harvest can cost a farmer hours, thousands of dollars, and potentially an entire day of valuable harvesting time. So what exactly are American farmers doing in these final weeks of August? Let's go behind the scenes and see how the preparation for America's massive corn harvest really begins. Scene 1, late August in the Corn Belt. It may look like an ordinary summer day across the American Midwest. Cornfields stretch for miles. The plants are tall. The ears are filling. And in many areas, the crop is getting closer and closer to harvest maturity. But inside farm shops and equipment yards, the atmosphere is completely different. Farmers are watching the calendar. They are checking weather forecasts. They are inspecting machinery. And they are thinking about one thing: September harvest. For a corn farmer, harvest isn't simply the moment when a combine enters the field. Harvest is a massive logistical operation. A modern farm may have combines working in the field, grain carts moving beside them, trucks transporting grain, grain dryers processing wet corn, and storage bins receiving thousands of bushels. Every part of this system has to work together. If one part stops, the entire operation can slow down. That's why late August is such an important period. The crop is still standing in the field, but the farm is already preparing for the moment when everything starts moving. And the first major priority is the machine that does the harvesting itself. The combine. Scene 2, preparing the giant combine. A modern American combine is an enormous machine. It can harvest huge amounts of corn in a single day, but that performance depends on thousands of moving components working together. Before harvest, farmers and technicians go through the machine piece by piece. They don't simply start the engine and drive into the field. They inspect belts. They inspect chains. They check bearings. They look at hydraulic systems. They inspect electrical connections. They examine tires and tracks. They clean areas where crop residue has accumulated. And they pay special attention to components that will experience extreme stress during harvest. Why? Because harvesting corn is hard work for machinery. The combine will operate for hours. Sometimes from early morning until late at night. Dust and crop residue can get everywhere. Moving parts experience constant vibration. And when the crop is ready, farmers don't want to stop every few hours because something that could have been repaired in August failed in September. That's why preparation is so valuable. A small bearing that costs relatively little to replace before harvest could become a major problem if it fails in the field. A damaged belt can stop an entire operation. A hydraulic leak can turn a productive harvest day into a repair day. And a serious mechanical failure can mean waiting for parts and technicians while the crop continues to stand in the field. For farmers, that lost time matters. Because corn doesn't wait forever. Scene 3, the combine header. One of the most important parts of the operation is the corn header. This is where the crop first enters the harvesting system. The header moves through the rows, gathers the corn plants, and feeds the harvested material into the combine. Before harvest, farmers carefully inspect it. They check gathering chains. They inspect sprockets. They look at snapping components. They examine knives and other wear points. They check lubrication. And they make sure the header is correctly adjusted for the crop and field conditions. These details may sound small. But during harvest, small problems become big problems very quickly. A worn component can affect how efficiently the combine gathers corn. Poor adjustment can increase losses. And excessive damage to ears or kernels can reduce grain quality. Farmers are therefore trying to achieve several goals at the same time. Harvest efficiently. Protect grain quality. Reduce losses. And keep the machine moving. That's the balance modern corn harvesting demands. Scene 4. Cleaning and inspecting the combine. Before the first field is harvested, cleaning is another major part of preparation. Crop residue, dust, old grain, and debris can collect in different areas of the machine. Farmers remove this material because cleanliness isn't just about appearance. It can help make inspections easier. When a machine is clean, leaks, damaged parts, and worn components are easier to spot. It can also reduce the amount of unwanted material carried into a new harvest. Many farmers spend considerable time around their equipment during this period. They walk around the machine. They open access panels. They inspect areas that may not be visible during normal operation. They look for anything unusual. A loose bolt. A damaged hose. A cracked belt. A worn bearing. A small hydraulic leak. Anything suspicious is worth investigating before the machine reaches the field. Because once harvest begins, the pressure is different. There may be no convenient time to stop. The weather window may be short. The corn may be at the ideal moisture level. And several other machines may already be waiting. That's why farmers try to find problems now, while there is still time to fix them. Scene 5. Testing the machine. After inspection and maintenance comes another critical step. Testing. A farmer doesn't want the first real test of the combine to happen in the middle of a cornfield. The machine needs to be started. Systems need to be checked. Controls need to be tested. Hydraulics need to respond correctly. Sensors and displays need to function. And the operator needs to know that everything is behaving as expected. Modern combines are no longer just mechanical machines. They are rolling computers. Inside the cab, operators can monitor crop flow, grain loss, engine performance, and many other parameters. Technology has transformed harvesting. But technology also means there are more systems that need to work correctly. A sensor problem might not look serious from the outside. But if the machine's monitoring system isn't working properly, the operator may lose important information during harvest. That's why farmers spend time checking technology as well as mechanical components. The goal is simple. When the combine enters the field, the farmer wants confidence, not uncertainty. Scene 6. Grain carts, the harvest link. But the combine cannot do the job alone. This is where the grain cart becomes extremely important. Think of the grain cart as the connection between the field and the trucks. The combine harvests the corn. The grain cart receives it. Then the grain cart transfers it to a waiting truck. This system allows the combine to keep harvesting instead of constantly driving back and forth to unload. On large American farms, this can make a major difference in efficiency. But the grain cart also needs preparation. Farmers inspect the auger. They check the drive system. They inspect tires and wheels. They look at hydraulic components. They check the unloading mechanism. They lubricate moving parts. And they make sure the cart is ready to handle repeated loads. Because during harvest, the grain cart may be working almost continuously. Load. Move. Unload. Return. Load again. Again and again. For hours. If the cart fails, the combine may eventually have nowhere to put the grain. And that can create a chain reaction. The combine slows down. The operator waits. The truck waits. And valuable harvesting time disappears. So while the combine gets most of the attention, the grain cart is quietly preparing for an equally important job. Scene 7. The trucks are next. Now imagine thousands of bushels of corn leaving the field. Where does it go? Trucks. And those trucks need to be ready too. Before harvest, farmers and trucking operations inspect tires, brakes, lights, engines, trailers, and other critical systems. The goal is reliability. During harvest, trucks may make repeated trips between the field and the farm storage or grain facility. That means transportation becomes one of the most important parts of the entire operation. A combine can harvest faster than the farm can transport grain if there aren't enough trucks. And when trucks are delayed, the entire system can become inefficient. This is why harvest planning goes far beyond the field. Farmers have to think about routes. They have to think about distances. They have to think about storage capacity. They have to coordinate drivers. And they have to consider what happens when multiple fields are being harvested at the same time. The harvest is not just a farming operation. It's a transportation operation. It's a storage operation. It's a mechanical operation. And it's a timing operation. Everything has to connect. Scene 8, grain storage preparation. And then there is storage. The corn has to go somewhere. Before the new crop arrives, farmers inspect grain bins and storage systems. They clean them. They check fans. They inspect aeration systems. They make sure equipment is operational. They look for old grain or debris that could create problems for the incoming crop. This preparation is especially important because harvested corn may contain significant moisture depending on harvest conditions. That means drying and aeration can become critical. A farmer isn't simply trying to harvest corn. The farmer is trying to harvest high-quality corn and preserve that quality after it leaves the field. Storage therefore becomes another major part of the harvest strategy. A full combine is only the beginning. The grain has to move. It has to be handled. It may need to be dried. And eventually it has to be stored safely. Every stage matters. Scene 9, weather, the unpredictable factor? But there is one thing farmers cannot control. The weather. And in late August, weather becomes a major part of harvest planning. Farmers watch forecasts carefully. They are looking at temperatures, rain chances, humidity, and the expected development of the corn crop. The reason is simple. Harvest timing matters. Farmers want to harvest when the crop is ready and field conditions allow efficient operation. Too much moisture can create additional challenges. Wet conditions can make fields difficult to work. Rain can stop harvest completely. And if the weather window is short, farmers need every machine operating at maximum efficiency. That's why the late August preparation period can feel like a countdown. The equipment is ready. The crop is approaching maturity. The calendar is moving toward September. And somewhere across the corn belt, a farmer is checking the forecast and thinking, how many good harvest days will we get? That question can determine how aggressively the entire operation needs to be prepared. Scene 10, why these final days matter? From the outside, late August may look quiet. The corn is still standing. The combines may still be parked. The trucks may still be sitting in the yard. But underneath that calm surface, preparation is happening everywhere. Farmers are tightening bolts, changing filters, replacing worn parts, cleaning machines, testing equipment, checking storage, planning transportation, and watching the weather. Because once September arrives, the situation changes. The machines that were sitting quietly in the yard will suddenly be moving through thousands of acres. The combine will be eating through rows of corn. Grain carts will be running beside it. Trucks will be traveling back and forth. Storage systems will begin filling. And the entire farm operation will shift into harvest mode. There will be dust in the air. Corn flowing through augers. Grain pouring into trucks. Engines running. And farmers working long hours to capture the crop they've spent months growing. But before that happens, there is one more thing that matters. Confidence. When the first field is ready, the farmer wants to know that the equipment is ready too. Because harvest season is not the time to discover that a machine wasn't prepared. Ending of Part 1, transition to Part 2. The American corn harvest is getting closer. And every machine has a role. The combine cuts and processes the crop. The grain cart keeps the combine moving. The trucks carry the grain. The storage system protects it. And the farmer coordinates the entire operation. But there is still a much bigger question. What happens when thousands of acres become ready at almost the same time? How do American farmers decide when to start? How do they manage grain moisture? How do they coordinate multiple combines and trucks? And how do they turn all of this machinery into one enormous, synchronized harvest operation? Because when September finally arrives, preparation ends. The real race begins. And in part 2, we'll follow that race from the first pass through the cornfield to the movement of thousands of bushels from field to storage.